Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, it's Spencer with nbsp.com. Welcome to another podcast. And today is going to be a very special podcast because really it's a coaching call. If you've been following along with the second niche site project, you know that I've been working with Perrin to build a niche site from scratch, and we've been doing this for a number of months, 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months. And the site's done very, very well. And so I have Perrin on the call with me today, and together we're going to be discussing how his site's doing right now and what the plans are for the future to grow that. And overall, this entire podcast call is going to be kind of a wrap-up of the entire project itself. And so it's the final official coaching call, and we decided to do it as a podcast to share the success story because it really is a great success story. I'm excited to have done the project on my blog, and Perrin's done very, very well. So, Perrin, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yep, absolutely. So it's kind of interesting. We've been doing coaching video calls for the past few months and making incremental progress along the way. But now we have some big numbers to reveal.
Yep.
Your site's done very, very well in January.
Yep.
And we already shared the income report for December, and of course that was remind me $650, I think.
Yep. Right around there, like 630 something, or really close to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And was really good. Some people were saying, "Oh well, you'll only earn half of that in January." That was all from the Christmas rush.
Right.
And
right.
So we're very happy to say they were wrong. You know.
Yeah.
It earned much, much more. So, Perrin, I'm going to let you take it away. Let's start off with what everybody wants to know. How much has the site earned so far in January?
So in January, we basically doubled our money. So right now, and we still have one more day to go because the call is being recorded on the 30th, but right now, on the 30th, the site has earned $1,318, and there are still 63 more orders to process.
Nice.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. And so everybody listening to the call, that it is a huge number for a niche site that's only 3 or 4 months old. And of course, we've been following the progress all along the way. But I couldn't be happier with the amount that the site has earned in January.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's done that amount, and it has that many orders to process. So it'll have a nice little uptick, and we'll be posting the official income report right along with this podcast on the blog at nbsp.com.
Yep.
So how much traffic is the site getting approximately on a daily basis?
So last income report, we kind of set the KPI of 1,000 a day, which is what I was going to work towards, and really I hit that pretty much the day after the income report was published. So I've been at around 1,000 a day for the beginning of the month, but I've been publishing content in the meantime, and so it's starting to slowly increase even more than that. So I usually have a spike on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, around the beginning of the week, and my highest day so far has been about 1,400 and a half, so 1,430 something, I believe. And usually on a daily basis, it gets between 1,100 and 1,200 visitors a day.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
Nice amount of traffic, and you're sending a lot of traffic to Amazon as well. Do you know roughly about how many sales you're making now a day?
It depends. So it's it really goes up and down, and I have kind of found that the number of clicks and the number of sales is really finicky. So some days I'll have tons of sales, or I'll have tons of clicks but not very many sales. Some days I just won't have very many clicks, and some days I'll have tons of clicks and tons of sales. So on average, I'd say I sell between 20 and 40 items a day, usually kind of right in the 30 range. But I've had some really big days where I sold, 50 or 60 items, and I've also had some days where I've sold, 13 or 14 items. So, but usually right around 20 or 30, I think is about the average.
Mm-hmm. And as a reminder, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the intro, but the site we're talking about is aPennyShaved.com. So
Yes.
It is a shaving site, and I know from looking at the stats that most of those 20 to 30 products a day are, razors or shaving related products for the most part. You
Yep.
do get some other random sales, but the bulk majority is all shaving products.
Yes. And for anyone wondering, the percentage of my traffic that clicks on an Amazon link is usually between like 40 and 50%. So if I get 1,000 a day, I might send over 400, 500, 600 clicks to Amazon, and those convert at about 6 or 7%.
Yeah, which is really good. I noticed that your conversion rate, that 6 to 7%, is quite a bit higher than I was getting on my survival knife site. I was getting somewhere, 3 to 4 maybe. 4% for a month was on the high side. And I don't know what to attribute that to, if your layout is better or just the market that it's in. Perhaps people, it's a better buying keyword, perhaps. More people
Could be, and it could also be price.
Definitely.
Safety razors, at least the ones that... and it's also possible that the writing has been very meticulous on this one. So I wrote a lot of them, and then the only person I hired to write other shaving articles was my brother, who is also a very good writer and really kind of thinks the shaving niche is cool. So.
And yeah, no, that's good. And you cut out there for just a second, but essentially I know what you said, just that the prices of safety razors are much less when compared to survival knives. So that's part of the reason that you mentioned there.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this now. When did we start this? I should have this up in front of me.
September 3rd.
September 3rd. Look at you.
Yep.
So September 3rd, if anybody told you on September 3rd that just a few months down the road you'd have your very own niche site earning about $1,400 a month, what would you have thought?
Well, I would have thought it was totally crazy, I mean, like, even when, for, like, the first month, it was in the 500-plus rankings hole, where it just wasn't ranking at all. And even then, like, I didn't even care, because it was so outside of the realm of possibility to me that I would actually be earning money, that I really didn't even worry about it. I mean, like, you were the one who said we need to get out of this hole, and I, like, it was like, that was just a normal thing for me. That, like, my sites weren't like, just never did that well. So it was, I think probably the most exciting month was the second month, where, like, in November I earned $38, and I thought that was cool just because I saw that it was actually earning money. But in December, when I was earning hundreds of dollars, I just couldn't even believe it. And in January, there was another really weird mindset shift where the money wasn't as surprising. The success was, obviously really fun, but there was a mindset shift where, like, I saw the money coming in. I had kind of internalized the process. I knew I could do it, and so I switched much more, or from, like, a kid in a candy store to an entrepreneur. I feel like we're like, okay, now I have this capital, and what can I do with it? So, but it's been fun.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, and I mean, it is. It's a big deal. I can remember the first time that I had some success with my niche sites, and I went through a similar process where initially building sites, everything I built failed, and so the first few months things started to earn money. I was ecstatic, even though it was $50 or $60 or whatever it was. And then the same thing happened to me as well. I started socking away all the money that I earned from my niche sites and reinvesting those into new niche sites and new projects. And that's how I've grown my business. I've reinvested just about everything. And just grown from there. So I hope you do the same.
Yeah, I plan on it.
Yeah. And this is probably not new to very many people, but I know there are some people that only listen to the podcast and maybe don't read the blog. And if you're one of those people, shame on you. You should be reading my blog. No, I'm happy to have you as a listener on the podcast, but because Perrin has done so well, I've seen a lot of the value that he brings with his writing skills and just his intuition to do things very well, that I actually hired Perrin as a full-time employee to help me build out my own niche sites. So Perrin, welcome to my team. It's good to have you on board. We've been working now. It's been
about a month and almost 6 weeks now, yeah.
Yeah, almost a month and a half. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
Good. Yeah, hopefully I can keep it fun. But we're working on building out my own niche sites more, and we're not going to talk about that too much, but we're essentially going through the same process as aPennyShaved and building out some of those sites each month. And I know you're working on some of your own niche sites as well, and we may talk about that in a little bit here when we talk about how you might do things differently. But for aPennyShaved, I mean, overall, why do you think it was so successful, the way that you view it?
So I think there are a couple things. First, and most obvious, but certainly the most important, the thing that you preach over and over on your blog is keyword research. It's the foundation for any good site. And, one of the cooler parts about this process is that lots of people reach out to me to show me their sites and to ask questions and to congratulate me and to network and, kind of make new friends and stuff. And when people show me their sites, especially if we are troubleshooting, one of the first things I look at are their keywords. And, over half the time, if they're having trouble with their success, it's often keyword research. So, it might be a keyword with not a lot of traffic, or it might be a keyword that is more competitive, or probably the most common thing I see is a keyword that looks good on paper but hadn't been investigated properly by actually digging into the sites. So I think if anyone were to go back and look at the early coaching calls, you would see, or you have seen if you've been a follower for a while, that a lot of the things that I didn't know and a lot of my learning process was in the keyword research. And it's just so important. So I think that is something that I didn't understand, even though I kind of thought I did before we started this process. And it's certainly one of the biggest contributing factors to my success, even as I move forward. So even as I'm adding more content, I'm doing really extensive keyword research and picking super low competition keywords that I can rank for on the second or third page in a day or two now. So that for sure was one. The other thing that contributed to the success of the site, I think, was picking a good market, which I don't think is talked about enough in niche site building. But having a good market where there's a really good community has been invaluable for the site. And I think most of that, or that was most apparent in the link baiting process,
right,
where I was reaching out and networking and making friends and asking for guest posts and getting on people's blog rolls. And you and I have experienced this in some of the sites that we are building for your business, where we've tried the same process in different markets and it hasn't worked nearly as well. It still works. It's still kind of working and we're getting some bites, but it definitely hasn't been the response that I got on aPennyShaved, where I was converting 50% of the emails that I sent out into real good, high-quality links.
Right.
And so I think that's a really good lesson, something to consider. Best Safety Razor was getting 1,900 searches when I picked it up. So I mean, the strength of the market and the community in that market was a big factor in the success, I think.
Yep.
And I think also the writing helped a lot, which was kind of a skill that I had going into it, and it really did come in handy. And it's also something that I don't think is talked about enough in niche site building. And one of the reasons is that, like, I mean, one of the things that aPennyShaved does really well is it keeps people on the page for a pretty long time, about 2 or 3 minutes per person. And some days that's even higher. Some days it's as high as 4 minutes per person. And people also look at between 3 and 4 pages on the site. And I'm really proud of those numbers. And I think that speaks to the strength and the attention to the writing on the site. So, I don't think it's enough to, or I don't think you're going to be maximizing your profits by outsourcing mediocre content. I think you should either pay for really good content or write at least your core content yourself. So I think in total, keyword research, the strength of the market, and the attention to the writing, I think were probably the biggest factors in the success of the site.
Yeah, definitely. And good points for everybody to remember out there and consider when they're building out their own site to do the same thing. All 3 of those are critical. Certainly, I've talked about keyword research a ton. That's just what I've always been good at, I guess. That's what I've always focused on from the very beginning, is keyword research. And so that's sort of my expertise. And now as Google has changed to reward quality even more with the Penguin and the Panda updates, I've been more of a proponent of building out quality sites, and I do talk about that a lot as well. But definitely when you can reach out to the community in addition to that and have an active community there, you really can hit a home run. So great points there, as well as to why the site's been successful. Now, I know a lot of people listening want to know what your plans are going forward. What's sort of the next step? You've got a site now that's getting 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 hits a day. It's earning quite a bit of money each month. Do you just sort of sit and let it ride? And of course, I know the answer here, but what are your plans going forward for content in particular? Do you just leave the site as is, or keep adding?
So I would add a lot more content if it wasn't a public project, but I don't want to invest too much into the site just because there's always a risk that it will be attacked. But I am going to add content up to about 50 pages, I think. So right now I have a list of keywords that are being written. I am giving them to my brother just because he's a good writer, and we can do them at a really reasonable pace, like 1 or 2 or 3 a week. And he also enjoys it a lot. And with every article I publish, I see 50 or 100 new inquiries and 30 or 40 visits a day after a couple weeks, after they start to rank and bring in some long tails. So, and maybe less than that, maybe 30 or 40 or 20 or 30 visits a day. But I've added about 20 articles now. So it's up to 30 something, and I think I'll get it to 50 and hopefully increase the profits a little bit more, and then kind of let it ride unless some of my friends in the shaving industry that I've made through networking want to partner on something or something to that effect. But that's the plan. I would get it to 50 and then probably focus on other projects.
Yeah. No, that sounds good and reasonable. So, maybe a couple of articles each week for the next, couple of months, something like that, until it gets up to 50 articles. That sounds reasonable. What about link building? Are you out actively still trying to acquire links?
Nope, I'm not. In fact, I've had opportunities to get new links, and I have turned them down. So when you have a site like this, that and especially if you have your fingers in some of the other smaller markets or specialized markets in the community, you'll start getting approached. So I've been approached by 2 or 3 retailers who asked me to review products, and I actually got a little bit of shaving swag, and I've had opportunities to guest post places.
Sweet.
But while that might be fun, like this is not my full-time business. I wish I'd found the market later so I could make a really big authority site out of it, but because it's a public project, this isn't going to be my full-time business. So I just don't want to spend time on the link building. I don't want to write a guest post for somebody else at this point and go back and forth with edits and things like that. That's certainly worth it when you are in the initial promotion phase of a site, but right now when I'm already earning and my site has enough authority to rank for long tail keywords as I publish new articles, the time just isn't worth it to me at this point. So right now it's basically nothing. I'm done link building, and I don't plan to do anything in the future. But the site already has enough authority to kind of carry its own weight.
Yep, that sounds perfect. Sounds reasonable. Makes sense. In addition, I know that when sites are established like yours and already have lots of links and are ranking for keywords, they often start getting natural links on their own as well. So simply by you adding additional content and what you already have there, people are going to be linking to it automatically here and there. So it'll happen without your involvement really at this point.
Right.
Now also, maybe we should have mentioned this at the beginning, but when we started this project, we had picked out 2 different keywords to target. The first one we were going to target was best safety razor, and last time I checked, you're number 3 on Google.
Number 3, yep.
Yep, and which is just fine, right? I mean, you're up there and getting plenty of traffic for that keyword, and lots of others as well, of course.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson. Because it was number 1, but it dropped back down to number 3. Well, it was number 4 for a while, then it moved up slowly till it got to number 1, and then it dropped back to number 3. And I think the lesson there is that, and that can happen for a number of reasons. Somebody removes a link, or like one of your rank hero posts drops off the front page. But the lesson there is that it hardly affected my earnings at all. So I saw a little dip in traffic, but really not much. And my site at that point was ranking for so many long tails that particular keyword accounted for a very small percentage of my traffic, So I think it's really easy to obsess over the ranking of your primary keyword, but if you have enough link juice flowing through your site and your internal linking structure is good, it really shouldn't matter much because most of your traffic is going to be coming from long tails anyway. So, I mean, I saw very minimal dip in my earnings, and really they've risen since then.
Definitely. And also what's exciting is the second keyword that we had picked out a more difficult one that we thought, okay, this is a long-term project. It's, first we're going to focus on best safety razor, get it up right away, start earning some money. And then down the road, 6 months, hopefully we can rank for this bigger keyword, which is best electric shaver.
Yep.
And so now you actually are on the first page of Google. I think you are number 9.
Yep. I was number 10, and I am number 9 at the moment, I believe.
Awesome. And have you noticed any more traffic there, or just overall the site picking up?
Not too much traffic. There's, I mean, I don't check the rankings every day anymore, like I was doing. Not for that site anyway. But someone had to tell me that I was on the front page. Might have even been you. It was either you or our friend Jason. But someone had to tell me I was on the front page because I just hadn't noticed any significant increase in traffic. So, and I really don't think there would be. I mean, there might be a little bit between page 2 and page 1, but at the bottom of page 1, you're still getting a pretty small percentage of that overall traffic. So, oh, go ahead.
But overall, that's just a keyword that once you get it near the top of the first page, if you do, I mean, at this point, the site's already earning sort of basically 3 times what our goal was.
Yeah.
But if you do get it up near the first page, you could certainly increase traffic and earnings a little bit there as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you and I talked about that a little bit. Like if this wasn't a public project, I would spend a lot more resources getting that keyword up there because I know it can be there now. And because I know my site has competitive enough authority to carry that keyword to the top. But because it's a little bit of a riskier asset, I would rather just focus on other projects, really.
Right. And again, to clarify, I know most people get this, but I'm sure there's a few people listening. You keep mentioning you're not going to put effort because it's a public project.
Yeah.
I get it. You know, I did a public project previously, and so the reason that we're talking about this is because it is risky in the fact that people could try to do negative SEO on your site for whatever reason. You know, that makes no sense to me, but believe it or not, some people want to take down other sites. Or just the amount of competition, copycats, other people stealing content. You open yourself up to a lot of potential risks by having a public project, which is the risk that both of us knew going into this. But we did it as an example, and luckily we've been able to do very, very well so far, but who knows what will happen down the road. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out as to why you were mentioning that a few times, so people were clear there. And so now that we've gotten the project to this point, certainly you've learned a lot, but what would you do differently if you were to start over and build a new site?
Well, I am building new sites, and I am doing a few things differently. So one of the things that I would do differently is that instead of I would be very careful about the people I hire. I wasted some time and money on Elance and Freelancer trying to get people for cheap, and I wouldn't do that anymore, or I'm not doing that on my current sites. So really all I'm doing now is doing PBN links and also some blog commenting, and I am outsourcing the blog commenting, but it's somebody I know. It's Anna Sewell from SEO Genius. He's been handling all of our blog commenting, and he does a really good job with that. So like outsourcing has been a successful part of this for me, but not in the way I expected. So one of the things I learned definitely was that I have a lot more success personally, and other people do have lots of success with Freelancer and Elance, but I have had a lot more success hiring people I know, which has worked really well. So on my current sites, I am staying away from at least SEO services. I am hiring some writing services and stuff, but I'm staying away from SEO freelancers on Elance and freelancer.com. So that's one of the things I would do differently. I think also I would do the on-page optimization differently. So aPennyShaved currently has pretty bad on-page optimization. There are lots of categories. There are breadcrumbs. And all that stuff just kind of adds, noise for Google to sift through. So on my current sites, I am reducing that as much as possible to the absolutely essential parts of a website. And like with the sites that you and I are building, Spencer, we're experimenting with that too. So some of them use only pages and some of them use only posts, and we're going to be experimenting with magazine themes and stuff. But the general lesson, I think, is to simplify the on-page SEO.
Right.
Especially with the number of affiliate links and the number of categories and other types of tags you have. So I think those are probably the two big things that I've changed from aPennyShaved to my next sites.
Right, exactly. And that makes sense. I mean, Google, WordPress makes things very easy to build a site and to categorize a site, and is overall pretty SEO friendly. However, the couple of things you mentioned, things like tag pages and category pages, really what happens is you have your article, your post, and Google, of course, indexes that page. But if you also have it tagged, Google will index that tag page as well that has the same content, of course. It's just a copy of your post on a tag page. And then it also copies the category pages if you have a category page and other things. So the content could really be on 3 or 4 different pages, all within WordPress, just because you posted that one article. And so overall, WordPress is SEO friendly, but reducing some of that noise, as you mentioned, helps out a lot. So overall, there's a lot of things that we learned. I mean, was there any surprises that you would say that we haven't talked about already?
Maybe. I mean, I think it's worth highlighting link bait again. I think that's a really good strategy,
Okay.
especially if you're on a budget. If you're going to do link bait, you should probably pick a market with a really strong community. And a good way to test that is just to see if there are popular forums out there that are active, or if other websites in the niche seem to have communities around them, so lots of comments, lots of resources pages who are linking to each other. So link building can be a really big success if your market is strong enough to support it. So I think that was a really big surprise for both of us. I remember you kind of being like, wow, really? You got that link?
Yeah.
And,
you did really well with some of those, so I was surprised, definitely.
Yeah, so that was a big surprise, and I think like just generally, just as a general message, the realization that it actually is possible, to make a website that makes money. It was, I mean, not that I doubted you, but I certainly didn't expect this level of success. So that was a surprise, and as a general encouraging message, it is possible, and it's cool to know that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of those things. I mean, I remember, and still, I mean, I read success stories in either other areas or different places. People are making really good money doing things that I'm like, really? You can really do that? Is that really possible?
Yeah.
And once it happens to you, obviously it's clear what can happen, but it is nice to get that first taste of success to know what is possible. So,
Yeah, totally.
but yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of things that we've learned throughout the project. It's been a lot of fun doing the project with you, of course. I love that your site is doing so well. And that you're going to reap the benefits there. It is a coaching call, so I feel like I have to give some coaching advice too.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I don't know that there's much more that I could teach you, but basically all that I will say is that going forward, you now have the basics. You just can now replicate this over and over again on your own. The idea is to take the skills that you've learned and to improve upon those the next time that you do them, the second time or the third time or the fourth time. And what is also important to realize about the SEO industry is that things are constantly changing. So even though the way you built aPennyShaved worked really, really well in early 2014, it may not work really, really well in early 2015. You have to stay on top of the market. You have to understand how Google ranks things, how readers are reading things, and I can't predict the future. I mean, maybe there'll be a new big technology similar to mobile devices that comes out that radically changes how we, are content publishers and can make money from publishing. But if you want to stay in the market, you need to stay on top of those. Always be constantly tweaking your tactics and strategies. And you can go a long way in the business. I mean, I started building sites. Well, I built my first site in 2005. I don't know if I really count that, but really in mid-2007, early 2008 is when I stumbled on the niche site business. Things have changed dramatically since then. I do things way differently now, but a lot of the core is still the same. But all along the way, I've been tweaking the way that I build new batches of sites. And because of that, I'm still on top of the market. I still understand how things work. So I would just say keep your skills sharp, always be learning, and don't be afraid to learn from others as well as you do that.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe to springboard off of that, something that I've been in the process of learning is how to take all of that and turn it into a system, So building one niche site may have a couple of different steps that you do manually, but building a business is going to have to take those steps in some way and turn them into a system. And all of our friends and our colleagues that you and I talk to on a regular basis all have systems, and they're not all the same either. They're all, many of them are very different systems. But to really create a business, you've got to understand the process well enough to turn it into a system, which I think is probably the next step in my evolution as a niche site builder.
Yep, absolutely. That is critical. Because you can internalize it yourself. But really, to scale the business, you do need to start getting some help and outsourcing certain pieces of that. And if you have a system in place, it really does make things a lot easier. So it's more just my 2 cents, I guess, and advice rather than any sort of additional coaching. You're there. You've built a successful niche site. There's not a whole lot I can teach you as far as that's concerned. I have some other business experience, of course, as well, but when it comes to niche sites, you've done it, and I don't know what else there is other than to replicate the process. So, is there any last minute questions that you have for me or anything that you want to input?
No, just thanks. I obviously couldn't have done it without you, and I really appreciate it. And also thanks to the Niche Pursuits community. You guys out there listening have made it incredibly fun, and I've made a handful of really great friends. Probably, more than a handful, at least a dozen really cool friends just from people who've reached out and, chatted about this weird thing called SEO that we all are kind of nerds about. So, so it's been fun. So thank you, Spencer, and thank you, readers/listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody out there, the Niche Pursuits community is very, very awesome. I enjoy reading all the comments on blog posts and hearing the feedback and getting emails. So I absolutely love the community. I feel like we're all kind of learning together as things change. We all share what's working with each other as well. So yeah, a big thanks to everybody out there as well.
Yeah.
So overall, Perrin, it's been awesome following along on the niche site project with you. This is our final coaching call. So thanks again. Thanks for sharing everything. We will continue to, of course, do at least a couple more monthly income reports, I think, to keep people up to date with what's going on. But this will be the last official coaching call.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. It's been fun.
Yep, absolutely. So thanks a lot, everybody, for listening. Stop on by the blog at nichepursuits.com if you're not there already, and feel free to find the most recent income report or other blog posts and just leave a comment and start interacting with the community there. We love to see that, so we appreciate it very much. Thanks a lot.